They told you to visualize, to think positive, to believe. But no one explained why sometimes the same ritual works like magic, and other times it feels like shouting into an empty sky. You've probably lived that strange contradiction. You hold a clear intention. Maybe it's a message you want to receive, a financial breakthrough, a health shift, and you feel you're doing everything right. Yet the world stays quiet, frozen, almost mocking you. And here's the secret no one said aloud. Manifestation isn't missing because you're not trying hard enough. It's missing because you're sending two realities at once. One from your mind, one from your field. One says, I have it. The other whispers, I don't. The universe, being the most precise mirror you'll ever meet, doesn't choose which message to answer. It just reflects the one that's most embodied. There's a hidden law beneath all the others, beneath attraction, vibration, assumption. It's not about what you want to happen. It's about what you stabilize as real inside your nervous system, inside your cells. This law runs silently under every quantum teaching, yet it's almost never named. Because it's not something you use, it's something you become aware of. It's the law that turns observation into reality, not through thought, but through resonance. And once you understand it, you stop chasing signs and start transmitting them. You stop thinking reality is responding to your mind and realize it's syncing with your embodied frequency. This is the law that no one explained, the one that collapses timelines, dissolves effort, and makes the impossible rearrange around your coherence. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So let's uncover the field behind the field, the quiet mechanism that changes everything. To grasp this hidden law, you have to stop imagining the universe as a distant system and start feeling it as a responsive field. Not a thing out there, but a mirror made of frequencies, reflecting not your thoughts, but your state of being. Imagine for a moment that reality is like a radio station. Each frequency holds a version of you, one where you're waiting, one where you're thriving, one where you've already arrived. You're not trying to create the music, you're tuning into the station that's already playing it. The catch is, you can't tune with words, you tune with embodiment. Every emotion, every muscle tone, every breath is part of your signal. When your body says, I'm safe, your field opens and coherence rises. When your body says, I'm lacking, even your affirmations get scrambled. This is the observer effect misunderstood. People think observation means looking, but in quantum reality, to observe is to stabilize a frequency of awareness. You don't see the wave collapse with your eyes. You collapse it by being the point of resonance that makes one version of reality solid. That's why your mental affirmations sometimes fail, because they're only surface vibrations trying to override a deeper tone in your nervous system. The field doesn't respond to your sentences. It responds to your coherence pattern. When you hold an intention but your body feels unsafe, your field flickers between stations. The result is static, mixed signals. You're tuned halfway into abundance, halfway into fear. And the universe, like any precise radio, can only play what's clearly tuned in. Now, here's the radical shift. You don't manifest by sending energy out. You manifest by allowing your signal to match what already exists. Every potential is already broadcast somewhere in the quantum field. Your job is to attune your body, mind, and emotions into the frequency where that version of you is already true. The so-called law is simply this. Whatever you embody long enough to stabilize coherence becomes the observable timeline. Not through effort, through entrainment. You don't push reality, you harmonize with it. And in that harmony, matter organizes itself around your resonance. This is the hidden machinery behind synchronicity, luck, and miracles. They aren't random events. They're signs that you've slipped into alignment with a higher broadcast, where what you seek is already real. But there's a myth that keeps most people stuck, looping between glimpses of magic and long stretches of confusion. It's the biggest misunderstanding about the field, and it's the reason so many think the quantum doesn't work. Because it does work, flawlessly, just not the way they were told. And that's where we go next. The myth says, if you just think positive, you'll shift your vibration. But that's like painting sunlight on a window. It looks bright from one angle, but the light never truly enters. The field doesn't respond to surface optimism. It responds to integrated coherence. And coherence doesn't come from thinking your way out of fear. It comes from metabolizing it, from letting your system reorganize into truth. Let's make that real. Picture this. You're waiting for a message after an interview you really wanted. You replay every sentence you said, Your stomach tightens. Your chest feels like it's holding its breath. You try to override it. I'm calm. I'm confident. I'm aligned. You even visualize the text arriving, but underneath, your nervous system is still transmitting uncertainty. It's as if your mind is tuning to 103.7, but your body's still humming at 88.2. The signal splits. So what shows up in your world? Mixed evidence. Maybe a delayed response, maybe silence, maybe a "we'll let you know." Not as punishment, but as perfect resonance. The universe didn't ignore you. It matched the static you were broadcasting. This is the quantum law no one names clearly. The field isn't moral, it's mechanical. It doesn't reward effort, it mirrors stability. The more coherent your signal, the faster reality reorganizes to reflect it. And here's the real myth to shatter. Manifestation isn't about controlling your emotions. It's about integrating them into a single, congruent frequency. You can't trick energy. You can only tune it. So instead of faking confidence, you breathe into the contraction. You let the tremor in your belly exist without judging it. You anchor your awareness in your body until your energy stops oscillating between hope and fear. In that moment, you're no longer broadcasting waiting. You're broadcasting presence. And presence at a quantum level is the cleanest signal there is. That's when things start to move. Emails suddenly appear, timing syncs, opportunities unfold as if reality just exhaled in your favor. Not because you forced it, because you matched it. This is the difference between manifestation as control and manifestation as coherence. The first strains, the second stabilizes. Once you experience that shift, you realize the field never fails. We just keep tuning the wrong dial. But what actually determines whether your signal can stabilize in the first place isn't thought, and it's not emotion alone. It's something deeper, the hidden gatekeeper that decides which frequencies you're even able to hold, and it lives inside your nervous system. Every frequency you can embody depends on one thing: how safe your nervous system feels to hold it. That's the gate no one talks about. You can't anchor abundance if your body associates expansion with danger. You can't embody love if intimacy feels like exposure. You can't stabilize success if visibility triggers old survival coding. Because the field isn't just reflecting your conscious intention. It's responding to the vibrational baseline of your physiology. Your nervous system is the dial that decides how much coherence you can broadcast before short-circuiting back into defense. Think of it like this. You're a tuning fork inside a sea of frequencies. When your system is regulated, your sound rings pure. The field responds instantly. When you're dysregulated, anxious, frozen, over-efforting, your tone wobbles and the mirror blurs. That's why safety is not a luxury. It's the infrastructure of manifestation. You don't become magnetic by forcing belief. You become magnetic by letting your system feel safe enough to expand without contracting. Let's make this tangible. Try this with me for 45 seconds. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly through your nose and exhale out through the mouth, longer than you inhaled. Do it again. Now bring your awareness into your chest. Notice the subtle rhythm of your heartbeat. Don't try to control it, just sense it. As you breathe, imagine your breath and your heartbeat syncing, like waves meeting the shore in perfect rhythm. Now bring to mind one simple image. Not your desire, but the feeling of safety that would allow it to exist. Maybe warmth, maybe openness, maybe stillness. Breathe into that feeling until your body slightly softens. That's coherence. In that coherence, you've just tuned your field. You didn't visualize an outcome. You stabilized a frequency that naturally contains it. Here's the key. Coherence isn't a mood. It's a physiological state where your brain and heart are in rhythm. Studies have shown that in this state, electromagnetic signals from the heart extend stronger and clearer into the surrounding field. You literally become a more coherent transmitter. So before any manifestation practice, regulate. Before you visualize, ground. Before you intend, feel safe enough to receive what you're calling in. Otherwise, you're asking your body to hold a frequency it still perceives as a threat. And the moment it feels unsafe, it contracts, which scrambles the signal again. When safety returns, coherence stabilizes. And from that place, you can finally access something far deeper than a temporary state, the layer where identity itself begins to shift. Because that's where the true leap happens. Not from calm to excited, but from who you've been to who you're becoming. Most people try to manifest from a state. They chase high vibration mornings, powerful affirmations, perfect visualizations. But states by nature fluctuate. They rise, they fall, they depend on mood, hormones, and the weather of life. Identity, on the other hand, is stable frequency. It's the energetic signature of who you believe yourself to be, and the field always aligns with that. Here's the mistake. People try to project abundance while still identifying as someone trying to become abundant. The moment you say, "I'm attracting," you've already told the field, "I don't yet have." The signal is encoded in the self-definition. That's why your manifestation collapses every time you fall out of alignment. You were never meant to maintain a perfect emotional state. You were meant to shift your identity field so that abundance, love, health become your baseline tone, not your peak moment. Let's use the radio metaphor again. Your identity is the station. Your emotional states are just songs that play on it. If you're tuned to Scarcity FM, even the happiest song will carry a subtle distortion. Switch to Worthiness FM, and even when life gets quiet, the background hum stays rich and full. The work, then, isn't to force yourself into good feelings. It's to rehearse being the version of you for whom what you desire is natural. You don't become confident. You remember how to be the person who never forgot they already were. Identity is quantum code. It defines which version of reality your field can interface with. When you shift identity, timelines rearrange to fit the new definition. This is why rituals sometimes stop working, because you're trying to use a tool built for the old you. The law of resonance won't bend around outdated self-concepts. It will gently hold up a mirror until you update the signal. So instead of asking, "How can I feel this today?" try, "Who am I when this already feels normal?" Then walk through your day as that version. Speak from them. Move from them. Breathe as them. It's not pretending. It's broadcasting a stable identity field long enough for the universe to recognize it as your new default. And here's the twist. When you finally stop chasing temporary alignment and start stabilizing identity, reality doesn't just shift, it snaps into a new pattern. Because identity isn't just frequency, it's the selector of timelines. Every identity exists on its own frequency band, like distinct radio stations, each broadcasting a unique version of your life. You're not moving through time in a straight line, you're shifting between frequencies of self that already coexist. When you embody a new identity, you don't force reality to change. You simply begin to perceive and interact with the version of reality that matches that identity's vibration. The world reorganizes because you're now tuned to a new broadcast. Think about it like this. There's a timeline where you're still waiting, one where you're exhausted from trying, and one where you've already arrived. Each one is broadcasting right now. Your emotions are the momentary static, but your identity is the dial that locks you into one channel or the other. Let's ground this with a real-world moment. You're staring at your bank app, seeing a number that makes your chest tighten. You tell yourself, "I'm abundant," but your fingers still tremble when you tap the screen. That vibration is evidence of the identity you're currently tuned to. Someone hoping to change their financial situation. But imagine you soften your shoulders, feel your feet against the floor, and decide to breathe from a different reality, the one where financial flow is normal. You don't fake confidence, you embody familiarity. The difference is subtle, but quantumly, it's everything. As you stabilize that frequency, you start noticing small synchronicities, refunds, random opportunities, people reaching out with collaborations. It looks like magic, but it's physics of resonance. The field is matching the identity you're finally sustaining without wobble. Timelines aren't distant roads, they're simultaneous potentials waiting for coherence. The one you live in most is simply the one you've given your nervous system permission to believe in long enough. That's why you can't leap timelines through willpower alone. You have to become fluent in the vibration of the destination. And here's the deeper truth. The field doesn't care about your timeline goals. It cares about your broadcast stability. You don't jump timelines by forcing the external to change. You let the external update itself around your new signal. This is where identity becomes sacred. Because each time you choose to hold a higher frequency of self, especially when circumstances still look the same, you're collapsing the distance between versions. It's not delayed manifestation, it's quantum overlap. Once your system fully entrains to the new identity, the old timeline can no longer sustain itself. It literally fades out of your field of perception. But to stabilize that jump, you need more than awareness. You need tools, rituals of coherence that train your body to stay tuned, even when the old frequency tries to pull you back. That's where the real practice begins. Here's where it becomes practical. Because once you've glimpsed the new frequency, that identity already living your vision, the challenge is to hold it, not just in meditation, but through ordinary moments when your old self tries to reclaim the controls. The key is rehearsal. not performance, but energetic rehearsal. You're training your body to become fluent in a new signal. Start with bridge statements. These are phrases that ease your nervous system from disbelief into coherence. Instead of saying, "I'm wealthy," when that feels false, say, "I'm learning what it feels like to trust financial flow," or "My body is remembering safety around abundance." Each phrase builds a bridge your cells can cross without resistance. Next, use somatic anchors. Choose a simple gesture or posture that represents your new timeline identity. Maybe placing a hand over your heart, a steady breath through the nose, a gentle lift of the chest. Each time you do it, you signal to your body, "We're home in the new frequency." The more often you anchor, the faster coherence becomes your default. Then add embodiment drills. Spend 1 minute several times a day walking, speaking, and breathing as the version of you that already lives in that reality. Feel their pace, their posture, their micro-expressions. You're not pretending, you're recoding muscle memory. Finally, create resonance loops. Find sensory triggers that match your new vibration, music that evokes peace or power, scents that remind you of expansion, environments that feel abundant. Surround yourself with cues that mirror your chosen frequency. Together, these tools build neural and energetic consistency. They transform your new identity from fragile concept to stable broadcast. And if you ever wobble, if the old timeline feels louder, return to regulation first. Slow your breath, feel your body, find safety again. From there, reactivate your anchors. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's stability. Reality doesn't need you to force alignment, just to maintain coherence long enough for matter to organize around it. Because coherence is cumulative. Every small moment you stabilize your new signal, the field strengthens it, like a feedback loop amplifying your chosen station. That's why results often accelerate after a quiet plateau. Your coherence threshold finally crosses the tipping point where manifestation stops being effort and starts being evidence. And if you've ever felt that moment, where something you wanted just clicks into place the instant you stop gripping, you already know the law we're uncovering isn't new. It's ancient, precise, and waiting for your next broadcast. Have you noticed the moment you stopped gripping, what you wanted finally showed up? Tell me your story in the comments. It might unlock someone else's leap. But before we celebrate mastery, there's another layer most people ignore. The traps that scatter coherence and keep even the most devoted practitioners looping between progress and collapse. Even once you know the law, 3 invisible traps can pull you back into static. Urgency, split signals, and over-control. Each one disguises itself as motivation, but all 3 scramble your field faster than doubt ever could. Urgency feels productive, but vibrationally, it's panic in disguise. When you're rushing, you're declaring, "What I want isn't here yet, and I need to force it." That frequency broadcasts absence. It tells the quantum field, "This timeline is incomplete." And the field agrees, because that's the signal it's receiving. Urgency collapses coherence because the body can't feel safe in a sprint. The way out isn't to slow your action, it's to slow your nervous system. You take 1 grounded breath, drop your awareness from the forehead to the heart, and remember, this version of me already exists. I'm catching up to it. In that instant, urgency dissolves into timing. You shift from hunting to harmonizing. Then comes split signals, the silent killer of manifestation. It happens when your intention and your emotion broadcast opposite messages. You say, "I'm ready for love," but deep down, you're still bracing for rejection. You affirm abundance while secretly fearing responsibility. The field doesn't hear your words, it hears the frequency underneath. Split signals are repaired through honesty. Instead of forcing the high vibration, you admit the truth of the wobble. Part of me trusts, part of me doesn't, and both are welcome. That inclusion ends the inner war. Coherence returns, not because you conquered fear, but because you stopped resisting half of yourself. Finally, over-control, the subtlest trap. It sounds like discipline, but it's really fear dressed as precision. You overscript your affirmations, overanalyze signs, overplan timelines, and all of that sends one vibration: I don't trust the field. Control short-circuits manifestation because it keeps your awareness clenched around one narrow outcome. The field, however, works through infinite pathways. When you grip one, you block the rest. The antidote is surrender, not as giving up, but as expanding receptivity. You release control not to lose power, but to allow a higher intelligence to co-create with you. So when urgency tempts, regulate. When split signals appear, integrate. When control tightens, exhale and widen your field. Each time you do, coherence strengthens. And when coherence becomes a lifestyle, not a technique, manifestation stops being a practice altogether. It becomes the natural language of your energy. Because once you stabilize in coherence, it follows you everywhere, into conversations, routines, and even the smallest gestures of daily life. And that's where the magic truly multiplies. Coherence isn't meant to live only in your meditation corner. The real mastery is translating it into ordinary life. When you're walking through noise, replying to emails, cooking dinner, or hearing a tone of voice that used to trigger you, every daily act becomes a broadcast point. You're either transmitting confusion or coherence, and that's not a burden. It's liberation. Because the smallest ordinary moment can stabilize your highest frequency when approached consciously. Start with walking. Don't just move your body. Walk as the version of you already living the reality you've tuned to. Feel your steps land with grounded confidence, your breath sinking with each stride. The rhythm of your walk sends a signal. This timeline is embodied. Then, eating. Instead of rushing through meals, use food as coherence training. Slow down. Taste each bite as proof of abundance, as if the universe is feeding you the frequency of sufficiency. You're not eating calories. You're absorbing signals of nourishment. Even in conversations, coherence shows up as listening. True presence dissolves the energetic noise between people. When you're fully here, not defending or performing, others' nervous systems unconsciously entrain to your calm. You become a walking regulator of timelines, and perhaps the most overlooked, silence. Those few seconds after you send a message and your mind starts spinning stories, that's the quantum moment. Do you fill it with worry, or do you breathe and let the field respond? Silence is where timelines shift fastest, because silence is pure observation. Integration is not about being perfect. It's about catching the moments when you leave coherence, when your breath shortens, your body tenses, your mind races, and choosing to return gently. No judgment, just realignment. You'll start noticing that coherence changes how reality treats you. People respond differently. Opportunities show up without pressure. You'll get evidence of alignment not because you chased signs, but because your frequency stopped scattering. This is the secret behind the so-called effortless phase many describe after long inner work. It's not luck, it's consistency of signal. When your body, emotions, and mind finally agree on one story, the field stops hesitating. It delivers. So the next time you're doing something ordinary, let that be the practice. Fold coherence into the mundane until it becomes invisible, because invisible energy is the most stable kind. And once that level of stability anchors in, something breathtaking begins to happen. Not just within your personal field, but across the entire matrix of timelines you touch. Because when one person's coherence expands, reality itself starts to reorganize around them. When your personal field stabilizes, coherence begins to ripple outward, into relationships, creativity, health, and even the subtle choreography of events around you. It's not that you influence others, it's that your frequency becomes strong enough to entrain environments into balance. Think of it like walking into a room where someone is playing an instrument slightly out of tune. Before, you'd unconsciously adjust to their discord. Now your coherence is so steady that their tone naturally begins to match yours. Reality tunes itself around your signal. Let's start with relationships. Once your nervous system stops chasing safety through others, your presence becomes magnetic. You no longer need validation to regulate. You are regulation. People sense it before you speak. Conversations deepen. Conflicts dissolve faster. Not because you avoid them, but because your energy no longer feeds drama. You anchor safety, and safety creates truth. Then there's creativity. When your field is clear, inspiration flows like an uninterrupted stream. You stop trying to think your way to ideas. They arrive fully formed because the interference is gone. Coherence amplifies intuition. You find yourself at the right place, at the right time, with the right thought. The quantum definition of synchronicity. Next, health. Your body mirrors the same laws as the field. Cells thrive in coherence. Stress patterns, the biological echo of split signals, begin to unwind. The immune system recalibrates. Healing accelerates not as magic, but as physics. Coherence reduces energetic noise, allowing the body's intelligence to operate without resistance. And purpose, the most expansive domain of all. Once you live in sustained coherence, purpose stops being something you search for and becomes something that uses you. You no longer find your calling, you get called. The field begins orchestrating opportunities that match your resonance, and what once felt like coincidence now feels like destiny expressing through precision. Here's a real-world snapshot. You're at your creative desk, maybe writing or designing. A deadline's approaching, but instead of panic, you pause. You take one coherent breath, remembering the frequency of flow. Within minutes, ideas start unfolding effortlessly, as if they'd been waiting for your permission to arrive. You finish earlier than expected, lighter, clearer, and then, out of nowhere, a new opportunity lands in your inbox. The field mirrored your coherence instantly. This is what expansion looks like. Less noise, more signal. You stop manifesting things and start emanating alignment. Life bends to your broadcast not because you demanded it, but because you became impossible to distort. But there's an even deeper layer underneath all this, one that moves beyond self-mastery and into the recognition of something vast. A consciousness that doesn't just respond to your frequency, but is your frequency, echoing back through the universe itself. And when you meet that intelligence, you understand what manifestation has been pointing to all along. At some point, coherence stops feeling like something you do, and starts feeling like something moving through you. That's the moment the law reveals its truest face, because underneath every frequency, every identity, every quantum principle, there's only one field. One intelligence observing itself through infinite perspectives. You've never been sending a signal to the universe. You've been the universe remembering itself through a localized body. The observer and the observed have never been separate, just folded into different frequencies of awareness. This is where surrender changes meaning. It's not giving up control. It's returning authorship to the larger consciousness that breathes your existence. You realize that what you called manifestation was never about commanding reality. It was about aligning your fragment of awareness with the rhythm of the whole. When you surrender at that level, life stops being a negotiation. You stop asking, how do I get what I want? And start feeling, how can I serve what's unfolding through me? And paradoxically, that's when desires begin to fulfill themselves, not as prizes, but as natural consequences of resonance. This is the paradox of power. The less you grasp, the more the field entrusts you with, because control contracts energy. Trust expands it. And as you move through life from that place, you begin to sense the interconnected choreography of everything. The delay that saves you from a wrong turn. The stranger who appears with the exact words you needed. The intuition that tells you to pause. And that pause becomes a miracle in disguise. All of it is coherence on a cosmic scale. The same vibration that aligns cells and emotions also aligns galaxies and destinies. So you stop praying to the universe and start conversing as it. You no longer try to raise your vibration. You remember that you are vibration, choosing form for the sheer joy of experience. This is the ultimate revelation of the hidden law. The field doesn't mirror you because it's external. It mirrors you because it's made of you. And in that recognition, manifestation evolves into something quieter, deeper, creation through communion. You don't pull reality toward you. You let reality bloom from within you. And from that place of union, something astonishing happens. The mirror that once reflected back your intentions now reflects something far greater, the infinite seeing itself through your coherence. Which brings us to the closing truth, the final image that ties everything together, where this journey from effort to resonance, from self to field, finally becomes whole. There's a moment, subtle, almost imperceptible, when you stop trying to tune the frequency and realize you are the frequency. The mirror, the radio, the field, all of it collapses into one truth. Consciousness isn't reflecting you, it's becoming you. That's the hidden law no one explained. The quantum field doesn't grant wishes, it stabilizes identities. And every moment you spend embodying coherence is not you making something happen. It's you allowing what's already true to become visible. The radio never had to build the song. It only had to tune in clearly enough to hear it. You are that radio. Your nervous system, your emotions, your beliefs, all part of the dial that tunes to the version of reality your soul already recorded. When you finally understand this, manifestation loses its tension. You stop performing alignment and start living as coherence. You stop asking when will it come and start realizing it's already here, I'm just learning how to see it. That's the essence of this law. You don't chase outcomes, you stabilize timelines. You don't convince the universe, you harmonize with it. You become so internally consistent that matter has no choice but to follow. So, next time you want to change something, don't push, don't plead. Close your eyes, Feel the version of you where it's already real. Breathe into that body. Let its rhythm imprint your cells. Stay there until your system relaxes into familiarity. That relaxation is the key. It tells the field, this is home now. Because creation never begins with effort. It begins with recognition. You aren't learning how to manifest. You're remembering how to resonate. The law has always been hiding in plain sight. Not in the sky, but behind your eyes. Reality isn't testing you, it's tuning to you. And maybe, as you finish this, take one quiet moment to feel that. Because the moment you do, the field feels you back, and everything begins to rearrange.